Welcome everyone! Today we will learn how to apply reflection in C# to load dynamically a concrete factory based on the factory name. So if you want to learn about the abstract factory pattern, you can check out my video. I'll provide the link in the description below. So in Visual Studio Code, I will create a console app, name it as a factory provider with the latest .NET 8 version. Okay, let's imagine a musical instrument factory which contains two families, string and percussion instruments. So the first step to create this factory is to add the abstraction of the interface. So add a new interface called instrument factory, which contains two methods. The first method is to get the available instruments from the factory, and it will return a list of strings with the names of the instruments. And the second method for this demo is to find the suppliers to get those instruments. So it will be a list of strings called find suppliers. The second step is to add the concrete factories to the factory provider, string and percussion. So add a new folder called factories, add the string factory class that will implement the instrument factory abstraction, and here we will return fake data to keep it simple. The supplies, imagine for the string factory Gibson and Cecilio, and the available instruments in the factory will be guitar and violin. At the second factory for percussion, implement the instrument factory interface, define the suppliers, Yamaha and Mapes, why not, and define the get available instruments from this factory, piano and drum. Okay, we have our concrete factories based on the interface. The third step is to add the factory provided applying reflection. So add a new class called instrument factory provider, which holds the factories and will return an instance of a concrete factory based on the factory name. So add a new construction and declare a variable called factories, which will contain all the factories based on the type, applying reflection. So call assembly that get assembly, the type of this class instrument factory provider, and then get types and apply a where clause to filter these types based on the instrument factory interface when it's assignable from the type. Okay, add the field into the class and then add a method to return an instance of the concrete factory, which will be an instrument factory element, get factory, receiving the name as an argument, and then we will get an instance or the factory itself based on the factories available in the property when the name contains the name provided via argument, and returned a new instance using the activator class. Add a explicit cast to return an instrument factory type, and that's it. The final step is to test this implementation using reflection to get a particular factory based on the name. So go to the program.cs file. I will add an infinite loop to test both factories that we have, percussion and string. Add a line to ask for the name, type the musical instrument factory name, save it into a variable called factory name and read line, and then we will print the available instruments and the suppliers. So how to do that? So call the instrument factory provider, create a new variable called factory, which will be a new instance of the class, and then call the method getFactory, passing the factory name. Okay, and then we will use a simple for loop to list all the available instruments and all the available suppliers. So first of all, access the available instruments, declaring an available field and calling the getAvailable method from the factory abstraction, and then use a simple console.writeLine to print the instruments, available instruments, with a for loop, okay, based on the length of the available elements, and then print the available element in the list. And finally, we will print the suppliers from this factory by calling the second method, get suppliers, find suppliers, I think. Okay, yes, suppliers, and this is suppliers that count, and print the suppliers in the index position, and that's it. We're ready to test the factory provider using reflection. Run the application. The first factory we want to test is the string. As you can see, we have the available instruments and the suppliers. Now test the second instrument factory, percussion, and we have the available instruments and the supplies. We are loading dynamically all the data about a particular factory. Applying reflection, we can add additional factories without modifying the actual code, adhering to the open-close principle. In addition, if-else and switch case statements are no longer needed. However, it's important to note that reflection may not be suitable in all scenarios.